Let me paint you a picture. May 2024. Crystal Palace just destroyed Manchester United 4-0 at Selhurst Park. Casemiro, one of the greatest defensive midfielders of his generation, a man with 5 Champions League medals, was out there being humiliated. And after that game, Jamie Carragher sat in the Sky Sports studio and said this: "I think Casemiro should know tonight that he should only have 3 games left at the top level. He needs to go to the MLS or Saudi. Leave the football before the football leaves you. The football has left him." Bold statement. The whole football world agreed with him. But fast forward to February 2026, and Carragher just had to sit back down in that same studio and admit he got it wrong. So today, we're going through exactly how this story unfolded: the fall, the verdict, and the comeback nobody saw coming. Okay, so the Crystal Palace disaster set the tone. But if you thought that was the lowest Casemiro would go, you were wrong. The 2024-25 season came around, and things got even worse. United's opening stretch was rough for everyone, but Casemiro stuck out like a sore thumb. And then came the Liverpool game at Old Trafford. United lost 3-0 at home, and Casemiro was directly at fault for 2 goals. He was so bad that Erik ten Hag yanked him off at half-time and threw on a teenager named Toby Collier to replace him. Toby Collier, a kid, over Casemiro, a man who'd won the Champions League 5 times. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Ruben Amorim came in and was brutally honest about Casemiro. He straight up said, and I quote, "We know that Casemiro nowadays has other qualities. He's intelligent and understands the game. But we are in a league where there is a big intensity difference. Therefore, I feel our team needs players with high intensity, and sometimes we don't have them." Translation: "You're too slow for what I'm trying to do." And Amorim backed that up with action. He left Casemiro on the bench for games. He left him out of the lineup completely. At one point, he openly admitted that Casemiro was even behind Toby Collier in the pecking order. That's genuinely painful to hear for a guy of his status. There's also the tactical problem. Amorim played a 3-4-3, which meant Casemiro was essentially the only shield in front of the back 3. No double pivot, no real cover. Bruno Fernandes was pushing forward, so Casemiro had to do everything on his own, covering massive distances and pressing high. Things his body simply couldn't do at 32 anymore. He had the 3rd lowest top speed among defensive midfielders who played over 450 minutes in the entire Premier League. In that system, he was constantly exposed. There was the game against Newcastle, where cameras caught him looking absolutely stunned when Amorim took him off, like he couldn't believe it. Then, the Bournemouth 4-4 draw, where Casemiro lost it visibly after being substituted again. The frustration was real. The man was suffering, and the entire footballing world had written him off. Now let's talk about Jamie Carragher, because his take on Casemiro didn't come once. It came in waves. The first big one was after that Crystal Palace 4-0 in May 2024. Casemiro had been forced to play as a centre-back due to United's injuries, which in itself tells you how bad things had gotten at the club, and he was absolutely run ragged. Carragher went full send. "Leave the football before the football leaves you. The football has left him." He told Casemiro to pack his bags and move to MLS or Saudi Arabia. He said Casemiro was too good of a player to be laughed at by Crystal Palace. Now, honestly, at the time, most people weren't exactly rushing to defend Casemiro. The performances were bad. The errors were costly. You could understand where Carragher was coming from, but not everyone agreed. Rio Ferdinand hit back hard, calling Carragher's comments highly disrespectful. He argued that Casemiro was being asked to do things United never recruited him for, like playing long balls and dictating tempo from deep, things completely outside his skill set. And William Gallas also came out and said Carragher was too harsh, pointing out Casemiro was only 32 and still had years in him. Casemiro himself was not having it either. He called Carragher's words disrespectful and pointed out that the whole team had been awful that season, not just him. Then, when the 2024-25 season started and the Liverpool humiliation happened, Carragher's criticism only got louder. In his mind, and in the mind of most football fans, Casemiro was done at the elite level. Case closed. Move along. Except the case wasn't closed. Not even close. Here's where the story flips completely. Amorim gets sacked in January 2026 after a brutal 14-month spell where United won just 3 of his final 11 games. Michael Carrick comes in as interim, and almost immediately, Casemiro looks like a completely different player. Why? Because Carrick gave him the right system. He shifted United to a 4-2-3-1, a compact mid-block shape out of possession, with Kobbie Mainoo sitting alongside Casemiro in a double pivot. Bruno Fernandes got pushed higher into his natural number 10 role. Suddenly, Casemiro wasn't carrying the whole defensive midfield on his own anymore. He had cover, he had structure, he had breathing room. Carrick explained the logic. He'd minimised the spaces in midfield, meaning Casemiro's lack of pace was far less of an issue. It's literally the same system he thrived in under Zidane and Ancelotti at Real Madrid, a disciplined 4-4-2 mid-block where he reads the game rather than sprinting to cover ground. Carrick just tapped into that, and the results? Stunning. Casemiro started all 3 of Carrick's opening games, wins over Manchester City and Arsenal, plus a dramatic 3-2 victory against Fulham, where he scored the first goal with a back post header and set up the second with a no-look pass. He made 6 tackles and interceptions against City alone. He's made 52 tackles of any United player this season and has scored 5 Premier League goals, just 1 goal less than Bruno Fernandes. Harry Maguire said the structure Carrick built was the key. When the structure's good around Case, he's still a magnificent central midfielder. And according to The Athletic, after just a few games under Carrick, Casemiro personally thanked his new manager and told him he was feeling like a footballer again. That line hits different when you think about where he was just weeks earlier. And Carragher? He had to sit back down on that Sky Sports sofa and eat every word. It is now fair to say the football has not left him, he admitted. He even joked that Casemiro was within his rights to fire back. Leave the punditry before the punditry has left you. That's not a small admission from a man who went as hard as he did. Casemiro will leave United when his contract expires this summer, going out on the highest possible note. But this story isn't just about one player proving one pundit wrong. It's proof that context is everything in football. The right system, the right manager, and the right structure can bring any player back to life. Carragher called it too early, and Casemiro made sure the whole world knew it.